Daniel Hess. You got a real loud fish tank or something?
I got it's actually raining right now.
Oh, it's raining. Then no fish tank. It's rain. Don't turn it off. Leave it on. It's rain. You can't control it. It's not your duty to control the rain. It's somebody else's.
It's a nice white noise for everybody.
Yes, it is. It's relaxing. Now, you think the show's boring enough that people are falling asleep on it. Now you go and make it relaxing.
Getting some ASMR action, man.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
The rain is happening. It is falling now.
Exactly.
So I want to make sure before we get into anything really like too deep or crazy or whatever, I just want to make sure I let you know how grateful I am that you were able to carve a little bit of this time out for me, and how important it is that I make you feel as safe and welcome as you possibly can be here on Evolving.
Well, I appreciate it. I feel very safe and welcome, and I'm glad to be on. Thank you for having me.
Good. So I constantly say, and I've said on any podcast I've ever done or any podcast I've ever been a guest on, I'll always make sure I make the point, like really drill home the point, how important it is to me that you've spent the currency of your effort and your attention on me. So like I say that to anybody who's ever listening to any conversation I've ever had, or anybody who's ever like watched me do stand up or like watched me wrestle or any of that stuff, the currency of your attention and the currency of your effort, because like podcasts aren't on the radio. You can't just turn the radio on and it'll be on. It's like you've got to take those couple extra steps. So if the couple extra steps have been taken, not only by you, but for joining me, but anybody who's listening for joining me as well. Thanks so much.
I love it.
So I also want to make sure, because I know on those like matchup podcasting stuff, there's like stuff where it's like, oh, always ask these questions or like ideal questions that you can ask somebody. I ain't gonna do that. That's not my style. Not
going cookie cutter.
Yeah, it's not that I'm not fascinated with the answers to those questions, but I know that whoever I'm talking to has probably already done a bunch of shows where they've answered all those same questions, and maybe get tired of talking about that kind of stuff. So I want to give you the opportunity to say anything you want, to do anything you want, however, whatever direction you want this show to go in. Absolutely, feel free. Ask me any question you want. Talk to me about any topic that's like current, like today's something that's going on that you're like, all right, this is what's been on my mind all day, and here's your outlet. Rocket it out there.
Nice. Yeah, I love it.
Thanks. So, is there any like major events going on around you? Not like when I say major events, I don't mean like, oh, what concerts are happening or what sports team, but I mean like, do you have any like major accomplishments that you're celebrating recently, or any like big decisions that you've got to make?
Well, I mean, I'd say this is the last year for me doing weddings in video production, which is pretty exciting. I've been doing that for about almost a decade now. So it's been a long, arduous road of doing like kind of crappy work, if you ask me.
Well, when you say crappy work, it's not that you're doing a bad job. You're just saying it's crappy work because you have to be inside of all this, and people are the way that they are at weddings, and sometimes they're a little loud, and sometimes they're a little like not one to cooperate with you. Oh, dude, I did this thing last. I did a joke last night on stage, and I said, like, okay, I just got a pretty toxic relationship. Said, you know how like when a woman's getting married and they're like real particular about everything, and they start like flying off the handle, and they don't really have a lot of tolerance or patience for things. What's that called? It's like not King Kong. No, it's
it's Bridezilla.
yeah. What's it called when they're not getting married? A bitch. That's who I just got a relationship.
Hey, I've been down the path of a toxic relationship. I know how that can be.
Yeah. It's what's your longest relationship?
So I was in a relationship for 7 years. That's my longest.
That's a long ass time, dude.
It was a very crazy 7 years, to say the least.
Was that the toxic one, or was that the non-toxic one?
Oh yeah, I've been in 2 long term, and both it could be toxic in their own ways.
Well, like long term, it's weird because it's like you go up and you do these ups and downs with people, and you're like, well, you'll hear this. I'm going to tell my friend this story, and my friend's going to hear it through the "they're my friend" filter.
Yes.
And they're going to be like, all right, listen, I have concerns for you. And I think that it should maybe not be ignored that this was a humongous red flag. And you might, even though you might be enjoying something, don't ignore those red flags. And so many times we're like, yeah, but they just get me. I'm happy sometimes.
Well, I think friends are funny because, at least in my experience, it tends to be after the fact. They're always like, I knew it wasn't going to work.
Right.
But it's like the whole time you're with somebody, they're like, oh, good for you or whatever.
Right. Like, oh, I've been meaning to tell you. Nobody liked that bitch. Everyone's been talking about how we hate her for years.
Exactly. And it's just like, wait, what?
What were their complaints? Well, this and this and this and this. Oh, shoot. All right. Well, thanks for letting me know 10 years after the fact.
Yep, pretty much. So, I mean, for me, doing weddings was, I was doing them with that person originally. And I think that was the start of the downward slope of not enjoying doing the wedding work. And it's just gotten worse over the years.
Then your relationship winds up being kind of a chore or an accessory to a career, or some type of like, oh, now I have this obligation to this person who I wanted to be free with and create our own not work thing.
Exactly.
Our own play relationship.
And then, with my second long-term relationship, it was I went in saying like, no, let's not get involved business-wise. And she kind of pushed her way into that. And that was the downfall of that relationship too, which is like,
what's the symptoms? What's the symptoms of the sort of the downward slope? What are the symptoms that you've experienced in both of those long-term things?
Oh, well, I mean, it like with the original one, I mean, we started dating in high school, so we were just super young, and my mindset was just like, this is the person, like that's it, like good or bad, I just gotta stick it out with them. And there's moments where like I wanted to not be with them and like almost broke up, and it was that kind of like high school stuff that really started the fault lines in the whole thing. And then it just got worse with time. People started cheating on one another. It turned into that whole thing. And,
nobody dated me when I was in high school. I was a nerd.
Well, we didn't start dating till my last year of high school. I was the same way. Nobody dated me.
Right. Complete nerd. Like, I'm wearing glasses now. Most of the time when I'm doing the show, I'm wearing contacts. So like you're getting to see, the people who are listening to the audio have no idea that I'm wearing these glasses right now. But my lenses are like super thick. I've always had like very poor eyesight. My vision's been pretty bad. So when I was like in middle school, I would just never wear my glasses, and I didn't know I could buy contacts. Like I just walked around blind all the time, and I was living in my own world where like I can't see anybody else, so nobody can see me. Why don't I just pick my nose? Well, why don't I? Why don't I? Why don't I just make weird faces all the time? No one can see them. I'm like, no. People can see me. I just can't see them. So
it's not a two-way street.
I can't see the looks of disgust that I'm receiving from everybody.
Well, I know for me, it was always, I used to watch like anime a lot, especially in high school and middle school. And that was like before it became any kind of in vogue for anyone.
Oh yeah, dude. I totally receive that. I appreciate and receive and feel the exact same pain for being a pro wrestling fan. Nobody was a pro wrestling fan when I was in middle school and high school. And if you were, it was very like people very closeted about their wrestling fandom. People not like very open about it because people would think at a certain point that you're supposed to like grow out of it. And they're like, "Oh, you must. What are you, a little kid? Oh, don't you know? Don't you know that's fake?" And it's like, "You think I like it because I don't know it's fake? You dummy!"
Like I just like it.
Right.
Like, exactly.
You know, novels. They didn't happen.
It's like who'd have thunk it?
Those are all made up characters.
It's wild. But yeah, so I mean, you know, you live and you learn with things. I think because of those experiences, I've definitely. It's been a while since I've dated someone seriously, so I feel like when the time comes, I'll finally have the winning formula. Hopefully,
well,
fingers crossed.
you think experience is the best teacher. So if you've experienced the things that you've liked and the things that you've disliked, that will help you make the decisions for when the stakes are raised again, I guess.
Exactly.
So what part of the world are you living in?
So I'm in Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay.
Which is, you know, right here on the East Coast, right on the water.
Yeah. You got isn't the Baltimore accent's very similar to the Philadelphia accent, right? Like that's where I'm from Philly. So you get a lot of like, "Hey, those are Haggies over there," and like
you get a lot of well, I mean the hun, you know, hey hun, how's it going down here in Baltimore?
Baltimore.
Yeah.
Baltimore.
That's what we got going on down here.
We're so in this is a weird transition I'm trying to make, and I want to articulate this correctly to make it not sound insulting.
You're good.
So leaving the wedding videography business, the decision behind that is the evolution of your writing, right?
Yeah, I think for a long time, you know, I went to school for film and I came out, and I think for a long time I felt like I needed to just prove to a lot of people, hey, like I can make this a career and I can make money doing film and video. Sort of stubbornly, a little bit of pride mixed in with that. And so when I moved out, when I was like 23, I think is when I moved out. The first thing I needed to do was just, you know, start making money. So the first kind of big opportunity I got was doing wedding video for a wedding photographer that was in the area. And I just jumped on it because I needed the money. And that's been the constant theme kind of ever since. It's always been, well, the money is pretty good, so we'll suck up the misery of it all to do that.
Well, I mean, it gives you experience with like pointing the camera. I mean, that's inside of what your soul, like your soul, like goal and purpose to feed this creative beast inside of you.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, it's a good like point of that, but in practice, at least for me, it kind of became the extreme where I was just doing that and I wasn't doing the creative side anymore. So like it was a good, like I did my thesis film in 2012 when I graduated, and then I didn't do another creative piece until 2018 on my own,
Mhm.
early 2019. So there was a good like 6 or 7 years there where I was just head down, really just focused in the wedding and event world, like way too much.
Mhm. I mean, there's a lot of experience inside of that like is really applicable to all of it. I mean, you can learn a lot of important lessons in like the watch the way one person reacts to something versus how another person reacts to something, and
Mhm.
then gauge like what kind of reactions you might get next time based off of how they decided to act from the last thing.
Yeah, I
So,
think it taught me a lot about like working with people, like customer service, like doing like what you're talking about, seeing reactions from people. I
mm,
just think like my issue with it was I never really had like a shelf life that I was thinking for it.
mm,
I think that's really like if you're trying to do the creative stuff and trying to make a career in creative film production, I think you need to have that like deadline for yourself where you say, okay,
mm,
this is going to service me for this amount of time so I can make some good money or use it to fund some creative projects. But
mhm.
I think you need to like tell yourself, okay, it's going to stop at like this certain point. Like this is my cutoff.
Right.
Um, or you just have better balance than I do. Maybe I'm just an extreme person that I do things too far one way or the other.
Well, do you work better with like a regimented thing, like bullet pointed out, like what you really want to do, as far as like when you want to make films? Like, is that do you want to like write? Because I know you're an author, also. Do you want to like write screenplays and things like that, or do you want to like direct things? Do you want to be a like a like a photography, like a what do they call it? Director of photography?
Oh
A
yeah,
DP?
like a DP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that like what's the sort of the road that you're more trying to travel down?
Well, for a long time, it was directing and writing.
Mm,
I thought that was like definitely where I needed to go. But I found that over the last year, really kind of setting myself down and just doing the writing part has really been like the super strongest like thing for me.
mhm,
And that was always kind of there, which is what was crazy because I really kind of locked that side of myself away for a while.
mhm,
Um, and so now that I've sort of rediscovered that, like that's what I've been doing. And so, I finished my first feature screenplay last year. I'm working on a short screenplay with a animation person over in the UK. And then right now I'm working on the second feature script, which literally I was just typing away at right before we jumped on this.
okay, that's cool. So what's the genre? What I mean, I know I get the animation is one genre, but what do you favor in your writing? Do you favor like drama? Or do you favor comedy? Do you favor romance? What's the drug of choice?
Well, right now I feel like I'm still kind of exploring all of that. Like my first script is a drama. It's like a drama thriller that for me was a really cathartic piece to sort of get over that long-term toxic relationship I was in.
Mhm.
So that was a really good experience. And right now the script that I'm working on is it's a horror like mystery thriller film
Oh,
that's set
that's
during
fun.
like World War One. So
Okay, that's fun.
yeah.
So, what are things that inspire you? I mean, these I don't know if these are questions that are on your sheet because I don't even read that stuff because I almost want it to be its own, absolutely independent of every single other thing that's just like that. So what is like the main stuff that inspires you? What are the things that are like when you saw it, you were like, ah, gotta pick up a pen, gotta pick up
Mhm.
the keyboard, gotta get writing on this.
Well, I try to be like a constant student of just about like any genre or any filmmaker. Like I'm a really big fan of Jean-Luc Godard and like French New Wave cinema. That was sort of my like introduction to taking film a lot more seriously, because that
Mhm.
was like I was exposed to that while I was in college, which was really cool because I had never seen films that were just challenging like that before. Like the whole
Mhm.
point is to just kind of mess with the audience in a lot of ways. So I always found that really inspiring. But these days, like I just kind of honestly like I'll just search around, and usually I'm trying to find films that are like I don't want to sound pretentious, but like I try to find obscure films. I try to find foreign.
Pretentious, pretentious over
we
here.
got we got a pretentious guy. Cut him off. No more interview.
Edit that part out. So,
So I try not to be pretentious in my ways, but yeah, I watch a lot of foreign films, a lot of indie obscure films.
oh, this guy's showing off. He knows how to read and stuff.
He's gonna pick up a book and start reading aloud. This guy. So yeah, I just try to stay like really open minded with things. I think that's the best part of it all. Is I just am open to just about anything.
So what's the family like? Are they supportive of all that? You got siblings, you got both parents, you got one parent. What's the deal on that?
So both parents, and then I have two younger sisters. And to their credit, yeah, they've been pretty supportive. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm like the first artist type to really pursue like an art field in my like pretty much entire family. So I mean, to everyone's credit, yeah, like they've always just been like, you're doing your thing, you're making it work, you're making it happen. So it took some convincing at first, for sure, because I know my parents really wanted me to do something that was a little more grounded, a little more stable.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
well, they want you to have the security that they wanted for themselves. I mean,
mhm,
that's I think any parent is that way, but it's tough to not like put expectations on your subconscious of your kids when
mhm.
you're a parent. I'd imagine. Well, I said I'd imagine, considering I'm not a parent.
Yeah, me neither. So I'd like to say the same things. It's like,
Right.
yeah, I'd be worried about my kids and what they're trying to do with their lives for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. uh, Dude, my little sister is 11 years younger than me. So
Mhm.
I got all the like diapers out of the way when I was a kid. I got all the like the puke, all the like baby stuff. I mean, which I loved her
That's
so much. I loved her so much that stuff didn't bother me. But
mhm.
I got it out of the way. I did the parenting stuff, and now I look at her, I look at Jess, and I go, how proud of the person she is that I am. And I always think about, and I want to make sure any kind of like attitude I have towards anything she does is nothing but supportive, because I don't want her to ever feel like she's got some pressure that she doesn't need, because the
Mhm.
world gives you enough pressure.
It's true. And it's so funny that you bring that up because my youngest sister is actually 10 years younger than
Mhm.
me. So I say the exact, that's what I always say. I'm like, I got it. I already had it. Like I had the diapers, all that stuff. I'm
Right.
good.
Right. Right, right. That's a one and done experience. I don't need any more. Don't need any more of that.
Right? I
Like
say it all the time.
I've made it. I've made it this far. I've made it this far, and hopefully, keep on making it farther. Don't
Right?
don't. I love kids. I love hanging out with kids. They're so fun. I love my little nephews. I love my nephew. I love my nieces. But I just I'm I'd rather be the fun uncle than
Right.
the like. All right, now I get to hand you back, and I get to.
That's the
I,
best part.
yeah, yeah. This is the part where I hand you back to
Uh
the people who've got to take care of you.
huh.
Like you get to have fun with me, but like let them have you.
I gave you all the sugar. Now you can go play and have a good crash later on with them.
My sister came here. My sister came here a couple of years ago, with her wife and her daughter. It was like, at the time she was maybe 4 or something like that,
Mhm.
and and they both like went out. I forget where they went, but the the daughter said, "Oh, I want to go with you." Never mind, I don't want to go with you. So then they left, and she was like, "I wanted to go with them." And she started losing her mind. And like, she was like,
goodness.
call my mommy, and like going nuts. And I was like, and I started like going, does this work? Does this crying work? I was trying to like reason with a 4-year-old, and my mom was like, she's not going to listen to you. She's not going to answer you with any logic. Just let it happen. And I was like, all right, well, it's a good thing you're the mom.
Right. Yeah, I'm like, it's like talk with little kids. It's always like, how do I communicate with you again?
Right. What my mom always did, and I don't specifically remember it from me when I was a kid, but the ability to never talk to you like you're a little kid, my mom always made that point very important, to make sure to have conversations with my sister, and probably me and my older brother and sister, but like want to have a conversation with you like you're also her equal, and never like, you're dumb and I've got to teach you this. She would like fold laundry. I remember she used to fold laundry with my little sister in the car seat, and she would be like, shirt, and she would like go to fold the shirt, socks, like like she would just say what it was, not go, hey, this is a shirt. This is a shirt.
Look at this.
Woo woo. Shirt.
Exactly. I always say that's like super critical. I think some people tend to miss that, where they think they just gotta talk to the kids like they're real little, and it's just like, nah, just talk to them, like they're there with you having a conversation.
Right? Yeah, exactly. I mean, the funny thing is, I've been making this point in my head. I know, like recently, I think I brought it up a couple of times on here, but I got some like Disney songs stuck in my head, like, and I was thinking about these Disney movies, and in them there was like a whole new world. And they're like, no one to tell us no or where to go. So it was like, and then other songs like, no one's saying do this, no one's saying stop that, no one's saying see. Everything was like, everything with kids is, don't be the jerk that's telling me I can't do things. Just explain to me the things that I can do and tell me what that's like. I mean, so that's why I've also been doing this thing on stage, which I'm probably gonna stop doing it, but it's not getting over. But where I'm like, I go like, who calls themselves a boss bitch? Like, and then like if somebody woos, I'm like, can we stop doing that? Because every job I've had, every boss I've had, I've hated them. Every job you've had, every boss you've had, you've hated. So like, stop saying you're hateable. Like, just stop.
You're setting yourself up for failure with that one.
Yeah, it's like it's like we're playing t-ball with like I'm throwing pitches because you got to swing at who I am. You just got a little t-ball.
Yep, there you go. Just line it right out.
Right.
That's true. That's true.
Oh, so you're saying you're complicated and hard to deal with? Okay. Cool.
Like, yeah, I've been there. It's just typical boss.
Right. So I'm like, what are you gonna write me up?
Yeah, right.
I've always been written up. I've always been the person who's on the very final warning at every job. It's like, because people who want to be bosses of people don't want to be challenged by somebody, because I don't talk to them like I'm scared of them, like I'm scared of them. I don't talk to a boss like, I mean, that might be what's going on inside. I might be feeling like I'm scared. I've always, like, every time a boss is around me, I'm scared, but I don't talk to them like I'm scared, because like, I know, and I want to say this in the most sincere, humble way, I know I've accomplished more in my life than this idiot ever will.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I feel like if you're in traffic, right? Like, let's say you're in traffic and somebody like they're like speeding around you and they like cut you off or whatever. I always am like, I used to, at least that was the way I dealt with it back in the day, was just like, you know what? You can get really mad at somebody for doing that or whatever, but then you can realize that like maybe that's like their accomplishment for the day. And it's like, let them have it. Cause like I'll have 8,000 better accomplishments throughout my day.
Dude, that's such a good theory too. Like I applied that to for like joke writing, right? Like this other comedian came up to me and he was talking to me about someone stole one of his jokes, and he was like only doing everything he was talking about came back to how he was mad at that comedian for stealing their jokes, and I was saying, I got a ton more jokes. I got a big book full of jokes, and I'll always have more jokes to write. And like when it comes to like stressing out about money and stuff, I'm always like, yeah, I got a lot more life to live. I got a lot more money to make. Like, I'm not gonna be too stressed out about. I mean, look, sure, I get upset, but those are fleeting moments because of like how grateful I am of all the things that I already have and things that I feel I'll attract to me.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, and your theory on the traffic is dead on what I've said on the show a bunch of times. Like, I've never road raged. I think I've beeped my horn a total of like 5 times in my life. Like, I don't ever honk the horn. I don't, because I know everyone in the, like, people will like dehumanize other cars. People forget the inside of that car is another person who's having a day that might not be the best, and
Precisely.
they might not have a way to process. Like, I know my mom, when she's driving, if someone beeps, even if it's not at her, she gets flustered, and she with the windows up. She never does it with the windows down, but she'll always go, "Fuck you, jerk off!" We're like, but it's more about the "fuck you, jerk off" to the jerk off who was beeping the horn, and not. But the worst part about it is like when I'm trying to talk to her or tell her a story, and someone will beep, and then and like in the middle of my story, I'll be like, so then I turn to her, and I was like, you know what? If you're gonna think about it that way, let's reassess things. And she's like, "Fuck you, jerk off!" And I'm like, whoa! I didn't. That was
like, where did that come from?
I thought that was directed at me. I
didn't. Like, oh man, getting my head bit off here in the passenger seat.
Right. I was talking to you about my teacher. And then you called me a jerk off. Oh.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But yeah, so I mean, it's, you know, it's been interesting, at least in like doing weddings and stuff over the years, because you meet so many different personality types like that, where it's just you'll meet some people who are just, it's whatever, like the day could go completely wrong and they're chill, and then there's others who are like, you know, my worst case example of a wedding was I had a groom that was completely blasted before the ceremony had even started, and was to the point of putting hands in places he shouldn't have put them when he was communicating with me while I was filming. So
what were those places?
Well, you know, you go a little bit below the belt, and you start finding out where those places were that he was touching. And this was
those tan line places.
The tan line places. If I get the dial out, you know, you go a little low on the dial. And this was like a wedding that cost like $500,000. Like, this was like a very high end like couple, and it was for a wedding that like wasn't even through my own company. I was freelancing for another one, so my barrier to tell them to go F off was extremely low. So I really had no leg to stand on with any of it.
Well, I mean, if somebody violates you, I think it's fair to be like, this is something I'm not comfortable with, and pay me or don't pay me. You might be hearing from my lawyer. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, hindsight's definitely 2020. I think I really was just thinking of the company I was working for a little too much, and not thinking of my own personal
Right.
issues that were going on at the time there. So
Well,
yeah.
now hindsight might be 2021 at this point. Let's just
I think we gotta I think we gotta nix it altogether. Every time I say it now, I'm like, ugh, I don't even want to think about that.
Trying to readjust here.
You gotta stretch it out. Yeah.
Yes.
I can appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. So what were the things when you were a kid that you were like certain that you wanted to do with your life?
That's the weird thing is like, I don't know. I always thought I'd be like working with animals when I was a kid.
Okay.
I mean, I was a typical 90s kid. I grew up with like Jurassic Park and all that stuff. I always thought dinosaurs were cool. But yeah, I was like doing that for a little bit, like nature stuff. Like there was a program at my high school that did some like nature conservation stuff. But I don't know. I just never really kind of like figured out what I could really do much with that, I guess. So when I was getting out of high school, it was like I was actually supposed to do pharmacology of all things.
What did you go to college for?
Well, that was the original plan, and then I switched at the very last second to film, and that was what I ended up going through for. So it was going to be a minor, and like I minored in psychology for a little bit, but even that kind of like fell off after a while. So it really just became film.
So, strange question. I've asked it many a times. Anybody who's in the public eye in any way, anybody who's living any kind of life where they're trying to be outward with their personality, usually they've got a hole that needs to be filled in, some sort of ego hole that needs to be fed. What would you say your damage is and where it came from? Do you have a grasp on it?
I always feel like I wanted to do something that would have led me to be more on like having a stage presence. Like I remember in high school, I had a couple friends who were like in a band, and I always thought that was like the coolest thing ever. And I actually was like, I managed them. I actually would get them gigs and stuff, which was a fun experience. I mean, I was like 15 years old, like calling up music venues and stuff.
That's entrepreneurial right there.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But I always wanted to be the one like up on the stage. And even now it's like, that's sort of like, if I could just find something that was adjacent to that. So trying to like be a better writer to the point where I can like, just have talks in front of people and stuff like that. I don't know. I get a lot out of that. And I feel like that's been one of my biggest pursuits, is just like having the ability to just like, people will be like, hey man, come talk at our university about your writing shit or something. Like, I don't know. I just thought that'd be like cool to at least be able to talk to a room of like more than, 3 people or something.
Well, I mean, you can sometimes talk to a room of 3 people. That might be how many people listen to this podcast. Right now you're talking to 3 people.
Hey, that's 2 more than what's around right now with my house. So that's good with me.
Well, being inside the I'm going to get back to that for a second. So being inside of the wedding industry, I guess you would say, did that kind of back you away from ever wanting to be married and do that whole type of thing?
It definitely put a really sour taste in my mouth for it for a long time. I just felt like, you see, it's the same thing. I mean, no matter what you're doing, a wedding is inevitably the same song and dance over and over again. You're just putting different coats of paint on it. So at this point, I've always said, if I end up with somebody, if I do a wedding, it's going to be super duper small. nothing intricate, like basically a courthouse wedding, but maybe overlooking a nice scene or something like that in a field.
Weddings are, to me, it's like, I'm gonna watch what I say, because it like I'm 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 ordained, so I could perform. Could
That's
or
awesome.
I could officiate weddings. Yeah, but um, as far as the planning and the psyching up, it's like this checkpoint. It's like you're just it's like once that happens, it's over. What's there to look forward to now? Like once the wedding part happened, once the party part happened, now you're just what you were before that happened, but you happen to be legally bound to each other.
Yeah, it is. It's a
Mhm.
lot of that, and I think it's crazy that we kind of do it as a society, because I think
Mhm.
it is. It's like this bar that you hit, that
Mhm.
it's like, how do you ever, like, when's that going to happen again?
Mhm.
Unless you do like a vow renewal, and even those are just like a lot smaller
Mhm.
scale than what a wedding is.
Right.
So it is. It's this interesting thing, and I
Yeah,
mean,
like raising a bar on uh I don't want to say disappointment, but I feel it.
kind of. I
Yeah,
mean, I think you're
like
kind of right.
how do you follow it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, my wake up call was when I was doing a wedding expo one year, and there was literally insurance companies there. And when I was like, why are you even here? They were like, oh, there's like wedding insurance that exists, because these insurance companies realize you're spending so much money that you can get an insurance plan to get some of your money back in the event of some kind of crazy catastrophe or emergency. And I'm like, that's how you know that this is just too overblown.
Mhm.
You can have wedding insurance. I was
Yeah.
like, that's a problem.
Well, in The Wedding Singer, when the girl didn't show up.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
like,
I've never had that experience, but I it's bad to say, but I
mhm,
over the last, especially this last year that I know I'm sort of getting out of it, I'm
mhm,
like, when I want that to happen.
mhm. Yeah, yeah,
I just wanted a no
want
show.
it for the story. Look, you can just tell people that it happened, and no one's gonna fact check it. You can be like,
Yep.
yeah, there was this lady, and you could actually be like, Robbie and Linda were getting married, and then Linda didn't show. Just describe the beginning of Wedding Singer.
Yep. And people would be like, "Oh, that's crazy."
Whoa!
I mean, I've had a cake fall. I mean, that's about the craziest I've seen. Cake fall. I've had a couple that was 2 hours late to their ceremony. Things like that. But
Mhm.
no shows yet. So fingers crossed that before the end of this year, maybe I'll
Yeah,
get a no show.
yeah, you're yeah. So it's on your wedding bucket list.
Uh huh. So I just got to start making some calls before these weddings and setting things up for failure. Like, hey, did you hear? Like, I got some pictures. Just send them some photoshopped
Mhm.
evidence and
Right.
cause some chaos.
Like, yeah, he was hit on bridesmaids and all that stuff before you.
It was crazy. I
So,
got some video of it. It's a little grainy and rough, and at a different location than where he was. But hey,
you're like, at the rehearsal dinner, he was sitting here talking about things like, "Oh, I can't believe I'm marrying this bitch. I might not even show up to the wedding." And then she's like, "He was saying that." Yeah, but he told me that he would deny it once you asked him about
the second you say anything, he's going to deny it all.
it.
Just keep that in mind.
Just stirring up drama with these.
Yep. Got to make it happen. Uh, that would be great.
So, all right, I have a couple of things that
Hmm.
I want to make sure I say to you or chat with you about. I mean, as far as like the considering we're in the vein of talking about like what you want to do with your life, and then the whole like marry somebody and tie your life to them until one of you isn't alive anymore.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's a wild thought.
what do you think happens when you die?
I think it's just that's just it. Like I think we're human, right? We have to like we have a tendency to overcomplicate everything. And
Mhm.
I honestly believe that it's like once you go, like that's kind of it. Like if there's something as reincarnation, that would be kind of cool, but like I don't know. I think everything is just kind of like you have your time, and then when the lights out, like the lights out, like that was your little bit, your little slice of pie on Earth,
Mhm.
and that's kind of it. Which I was like, I don't think of that in a sad sense. I think of it
Right.
as just like you did your
Uh,
song and dance, and
right.
now it's done.
So make the best of your time. Make the best of your time that you've got, because that's what you get.
Hmm.
That kind of I get the attitude behind it. I fully support it. I acknowledge it, and I appreciate it. Uh, I I it's weird because that would make me want to ask you: did you ever lose anybody close to you? And if you did, where do you think they are?
Yeah. So I mean, the production company's name, the name itself, comes from my cousin who actually passed away from cystic fibrosis
Hmm.
when he was 14 and I was only 10,
Hmm.
and we were like super close friends.
Hmm.
And so that was like a huge thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't know. I mean, you're 10 years old. You're like death doesn't even register, and then you
Right.
watch somebody who's like only a couple years older than you pass. It's crazy.
Hmm.
Um, and for me, it's just that I kind of feel that way even with him. Like for a while, it was nice to think that like, okay, maybe if there's like a heaven or something like that, like that's where he's at, having a good old time. But looking back on it now, it's just like that was just his time, and maybe the purpose was to inspire everybody in the family to want to live life better, or like want to pursue like things that they weren't thinking about before. Because I know, like, I mean, his loss has had a huge impact on me as far as just
Hmm.
trying to live life better and seeing it for like, okay, you know, if he was here, I'm sure he'd be like doing a lot more things. And so that's why I feel like I have to in certain aspects, which
Right.
is a
Right.
very motivating thing.
It's a sort of a carrying on of a legacy that didn't have the opportunity to really exist. Like,
Hmm.
what on the record living can you do as a teenager? I mean, especially a teenager in the '90s.
Yeah.
Like, nobody had smartphones. You didn't have a Facebook or YouTube. Like,
Hmm.
so I I kind of say that to go into just the next couple things that I have. I just got two more things, and I'll send you off right off into the sunset with a hot dog and a handshake. All right. So,
Nice.
uh, so I do this segment every episode called audio time travel. Okay.
Hmm.
So I before I get right into it, I want to make sure that I state once again on the record how grateful I am that you were able to gift me this time, and how grateful I am to be paid the currency of your effort and attention. And anybody listening to the show or watching it on YouTube, bro, much love for me,
Much
much
love here
love,
too. Thank you.
much
Thank you.
love and respect. Uh, so want to give you the opportunity
Mhm.
before we jump into the audio time travel to make sure that you get the opportunity to, on the record, ask me or say anything you want to say to me while we've got this platform.
Mhm. Well, I
And
mean, oh no, it's I didn't mean to cut you off there.
no, go ahead.
Okay. I was just gonna say, I mean, I appreciate what you're doing with everything here. I think it's amazing that you're taking the time to chat with so many different people.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm glad that we got to match on a podcast dating app, as I like to call
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that's true. It's Tinder for podcasting guests.
Yep, swiping right and swiping left. Who do you want? Who do you not want?
It's a match.
It's a match. Yep. And then you get your little adrenaline rush for the day, and you keep going.
Mhm.
uh,
I mean, but the thing is, with that versus
mhm.
like being on the apps? Like, are you on the dating apps? Are you currently?
Oh yeah,
Are you
been on this
currently
far too
swiping?
long.
Currently swiping? You getting any neat results? Meeting any fun people?
I've had some stories over the years with those dating apps, good and bad. But right now, I am talking to somebody that's over on the West Coast, so it's
Okay.
actually progressing pretty nicely. So fingers crossed.
Oh boy, cool.
Yeah, so we'll see. But I feel like I've been down the road before with certain people, and
Mhm.
then you meet them in real life, and it's like a different story sometimes.
Oh, somehow you look like somehow you you look nothing like your pictures. Uh, you seem nice though.
Well, I've recounted the story before, but when there's times when you meet somebody and within the first 20 minutes of driving with them, they ask if they can do a line of cocaine on the dash of your car. It's
Oh,
kind of a red flag.
that's not normal. That's not normal. Oh, I thought that was normal.
Oh man, what am I doing wrong?
Oh man. Oh, I got to reassess my whole life now.
I got to stop doing lines of cocaine off strangers' cars. Somehow that's a bad thing. I don't know how, but somehow it is.
No, but I've actually met some really cool people and
Mhm.
have just had interesting people on my podcast. Having a podcast and having a platform like this it works a little bit. You can be like, hey, wanna join me on my podcast, and how we sit here and we get to know each other. Like
Yeah.
it's cool.
It's basically a first date.
Yeah, dude. Where do you want to
So
go next time?
I was gonna say, everybody listening, this is our first date, and we're gonna make reservations at a nice restaurant for the next one.
We'll meet in the middle somewhere.
Yep,
Not that,
exactly. Not that far.
but another thing I want to make sure I say, I'm psyched that we've met each other and now
Me
we've
too.
done this, and this is still this is going to be just the beginning. We've time stamped our first date, our
Yep.
first conversation, and I'm excited to be any resource I can be for you. If you want to ever just spitball creatively, I'm absolutely pleased to join you in doing that. If you need somebody to act in something, I'm
Likewise, man.
happy to do that. If you got any ideas for podcasting, for sure, talk to me, because I love to be that resource. Not to say that I've got a tremendous following in podcasting, but it's absolutely something that I'm very passionate about.
That's awesome. And I
And
always say the same thing to people.
Mhm.
It's funny how little people actually take you up on that, though. It's
Mhm.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So I would like bigger amounts of people to take me up on that, you included. So now we're friends, and I think you have my phone number.
I
But
think I do.
so call me, text me anytime. I'm here for you. You ever feel like you just need a friend? Just some judgment-free conversation. It doesn't have to be anything creative or anything. But if you feel like you're going through something and you need a pal, I'll be that.
Hey, same here, man.
Appreciate that. That
Of
goes
course.
for anybody listening too. It's not like it's not exclusive to you and I. I mean, while that's great, I'm not a hard person to get a hold of. Don't ever feel like you're alone in the world and you have nobody to talk to. I have some of my favorite relationships with people who are fans of the show, and some people who connect. I love
Mhm.
the connections. I love the resources that connect things. So the fact that, like, you're in the film industry and I'm also in the film industry. I,
Mhm.
so if we can be resources to each other in any way, I'm absolutely psyched for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd always love that it's like you kind of run parallel with somebody, and when those paths can cross up again, it's always a beautiful thing.
So the part that I'm getting to on the show, the audio time travel, I
Mhm.
like to say that hypothetically, let's just say 20 years from now, so 2041, somebody who loves you immensely stumbles across this audio or this video. and wants to hear messages about like who you sincerely are, and the messages that 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 inspire you and make you want to be a better version of yourself, that would help them with their path that they're walking on. And you're speaking directly to them in this moment. What are you saying to them?
I'm telling them that no matter what it is you're trying to like accomplish in life or what it is you're trying to do, don't let any of the voices either inside of yourself or around you ever stop you from trying. I think that's always the key, is that you're trying, right? No one has the answers to anything. No one ever will have all the answers to anything. But the only way you're going to do any of those things that you're trying to do is just to try. And so that's how I've always tried to live, is just like, hey, if I want to attempt to write a movie script or something like that, you just do it. Like there's no other really option to go. Um, and don't let yourself walk away from it. I think that's the biggest thing, is that too many people let the voices say, no, I can't, or no, this isn't going to be good. Even if it starts off not good, that doesn't mean that you can't keep working at it and polishing it. And I think that's the key, is trying and then not giving up on it, and just constantly trying to make yourself better as you're working through what you're trying to do in your life.
Self-doubt is an obstacle that some people treat as if it's a roadblock.
Mm-hmm.
So turn your roadblocks into obstacles that you just get over.
Yeah, it's just a matter, like, I always used to have really bad anxiety, like, doing city driving. You know, I grew up in the suburbs, so, like, the city was a scary place to me when I started driving, and I can do it like the back of my hand now, because I've just done it. You just do it over and over and over.
Consistency is key.
Mm-hmm.
I have to explain to you, which I'll explain a billion more times. The reason I beat this drum in the beginning of every episode of the podcast is about consistency. Because if it's like I think I've told the story on here a million times, and forgive me if I'm getting it wrong, because I'm not 100%. I wasn't there. This is just a story I've heard by a secondary source or whatever. But it was like Pete Holmes. Do you know who Pete Holmes is?
Mm-hmm.
Pete Holmes. He was he was getting a show on TBS like after Conan O'Brien, and Conan O'Brien was like, "Oh, you'll have like a triangle, like a dinner bell triangle, and you just keep hitting that triangle, keep hitting your triangle the way you hit your triangle until one day someone will go, hey, do you hear that triangle?" So that's why I took that to like, I'm always gonna hit my drum the way I hit my drum, and then somebody will be like, "Do you hear that drumming?" What? That's it. That's the part of the consistency, and why I want to make sure that like I live that same consistency outside of just recording the show.
Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful thing.
Thank you. So, at this point, have you ever had your own podcast?
So yeah, actually, I do a thing where I sit down with different filmmakers all over the world, and we just chat about film.
Oh, cool! That's
yeah.
Awesome. Well, I usually close the show by saying, hypothetically, I've gifted you this podcast. Okay. So this episode has been your first episode, the pilot episode of Evolving with Daniel Hess. And in a very Jerry Springer's final thought type of way, how would you wrap it up in a nice little bow and give people something that can inspire them and give them the biggest like takeaways from this and really like feed their spirit?
I mean, again, I think it just comes down to not questioning what you're trying to do out there in the world, right? Like we're all just people, especially in the art world, right? We're all just people just screaming from the corner saying, "Hey, look at me. This is what I'm doing." And so I think you got to just keep doing that, right? You got to just keep putting yourself out there. And I think that's the biggest piece, is the more you put yourself out there, the more kind of truthfully you put yourself out there, the better the response is going to be. But it takes time. I think that's the biggest thing is people want instant results, and it just doesn't ever work that way. I think you just have to keep doing it.
That's perfect. Now, just to be silly, in whatever your best impression that you've got, just say, "Hey Willie," and then we'll take it out.
Oh gosh, best impression. Hey Willie. That's my gosh, I can't even Christopher Walken. That's my best attempt at a Christopher Walken.
Hey Willie. Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you anybody who's listened, stuck with us this whole time. Make sure you hit subscribe so you get new episodes. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you follow it, and you'll get new episodes every Monday at noon. But if you go to YouTube, youtube.com/Corey Castle, you'll be able to get every episode early, and you don't got to pay nothing. It's all free as hell. So send me a follow on Instagram, Twitter @Corey Castle, and follow Daniel over at Two Tony Productions.
Yeah,
and be fun. Well, have safe.
After you follow Corey.
Yeah. Well,
give Corey a follow, and then think about it. Like, don't make too rash of a decision. Maybe follow Two Tony Productions.
just check a look at what's going on, and if you see that it's things you like, go ahead and hit subscribe. Go ahead and hit follow. Go ahead and hit like. Maybe leave a comment below. If you leave a comment below, I'm absolutely gonna see it. It's not like it's just some anonymous thing. Dude, say whatever you want. At least I'll know that you exist.
Yeah,
and that's the biggest thing. I've been saying that at the end of the pod. I host another podcast with my friends about wrestling, and it's called Wrestle Rock. It's a comedy wrestling podcast where at the end of every show, I always go, if you like what we're doing, let us know you exist. We see that you watch it. We see that you hear it. Let us know you exist. Comment below. And then nobody ever comments. Nobody ever comments. So
it's like, come on, help us out. Build a community here, guys.
We're just trying to have fun and talk about stupid things. So funny wrestling stuff. Anyway, thanks so much for your time. I hope that we get to hang out and be friends, and we get to collaborate on some stuff. And I'm glad that we're friends now. Be fun, have safe, keep evolving.